Not at all. We're going to have a bigger bet. We're going to have £1 million.
You want to do £1 million on Conor Benn?
In escrow tomorrow morning.
He has
I'm telling you now, £1 million in escrow tomorrow morning.
On what?
On what? On the fight.
You're going to bet £1 million on Conor Benn?
In escrow tomorrow morning.
Eddie. Come on, Eddie. £1 million, eh? Okay. Let's find out if you're a man of your word or just a lying hype job. I formally accept your £1 million bet. And the £1 million will be our own personal money. Not company money or purse money, just a straight up bet between me and you. The money will go into escrow and the winner takes all.
Chris Eubank Jr. just delivered a brutal takedown of Eddie Hearn, leaving no room for escape. Hearn thought he could flex his wallet by throwing down a £1 million bet on Conor Benn, expecting Eubank Jr. to hesitate. Instead, Eubank Jr. humiliated him, flipping the script and exposing him as a fraud. Without hesitation, he formally accepted the bet. No company money, no purse funds, just personal cash straight into escrow. But then came the real knockout blow. Eubank Jr. didn't just accept. He dared Hearn to prove he wasn't a spineless hype merchant. He mocked him, ridiculed him, and outright called him a rodent, fully expecting him to squirm out of it like a coward. Now the pressure is suffocating. Hearn is cornered with nowhere to hide.
That bet, and I've looked into it, that bet can go ahead between the promoters as a promoter bonus.
Really?
So, for me, Eddie made that bet, Eddie made that offer. Whether we call it a bonus, whatever we want to do, the other one camp will pay the other camp $1 million if it loses, and the other camp should pay the other camp $1 million if it loses. We're on, I'm on, there's a way to do it. I know he's going on about all these rules now that I was...
Will he put his own money where his mouth is, or will he fold under the weight of his own arrogance? Just when things couldn't get any more intense, Ben Shalom stepped in with a shocking twist. He's confirmed that the bet can happen, but he's raising the stakes. Instead of just a personal wager, Shalom is calling for a promoter's bonus, turning this into a full-scale public spectacle where the losing camp pays up. And here's where it gets even wilder. Shalom isn't just talking. He's got the structure, the process, and he's making it clear. No excuses, no loopholes, just cold, hard cash on the line. Meanwhile, Eubank Jr. has already dismantled Hearn, exposing him as a fraud, a coward, and a man who will do anything to backtrack. Now, with Shalom pushing this forward, the pressure is unbearable. Will Hearn commit, or will he squirm out just as you...
The big one to try and diminish Ben, didn't he? He tried to make Ben look silly by offering him a £1 million bet. And apparently, Eddie doesn't know the governance of his own sport. As a promoter, a licensed promoter, he can't bet. And so, of course, Chris has called him out. And now Eddie, being the master snake oil salesman he is suggesting that it's a conspiracy theory that people want him to take the bet so he can get fined on his license. Nonsense!
Eddie Hearn thought he could outsmart everyone.
Eubank Jr. predicted. Because if he folds now, it won't just be a loss. It'll be a career-defining disaster. Humiliation. Will Eddie Hearn step up, or will he back out? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Eddie Hearn thought he could outsmart everyone, but Simon Jordan just tore him apart, exposing him for talking big and delivering nothing. Hearn tried to clown Ben Shalom, throwing out a flashy £1 million bet to make himself look like the big shot. But here's the catch. He didn't even understand the rules of his own sport. As a licensed promoter, he legally can't place a bet. Chris Eubank Jr. wasted no time exposing him. Instead of admitting his blunder, Hearn is now backpedaling, scrambling for excuses, twisting the story to save face. But Simon Jordan...
Yeah, I think the difficulty for Conor Benn in this fight is the weight and is the size. I think he's a better fighter. And I think at a natural weight class, he's a big favourite in the fight. But coming up 2 weight classes, it makes it a 50-50 fight. And you ain't going to blink in this one.
Wasn't having any of it. He called out Hearn for what he really is, a slick talker selling a lie. Now Hearn is spinning this into some imaginary conspiracy, acting like everyone is out to get him. The truth? He talked himself into a corner and got humiliated in front of the entire boxing world. No way out. No excuses. Just pure embarrassment. Hearn thought he was the smartest guy in the room, but he ended up playing himself. But here's where things get really interesting. Eddie Hearn isn't sugarcoating it. Conor Benn is walking straight into a potential disaster. And the biggest problem? It's not his ability. It's the brutal size difference. Jumping 2 weight classes isn't just a challenge, it's a career gamble. At his natural weight, Benn would have been the clear favorite.
It's quite difficult sometimes, especially if you're dry like Chris Eubank. He will struggle to stay within that £10 limit. I have a feeling he won't do it. I have a feeling he'll agree to it, he'll pay a fine and maybe weigh in 15 or 16 pounds over.
Who did he fight recently and he looked like he was completely dead at the weight?
Yeah, last fight.
Was it Liam Smith, the first one?
Yeah.
He looked like he looked awful.
Brutal. And that's how hard it is to make. That's why I think it's kind of the rehydration clause puts things slightly more into Conor Benn's favour, which is unfair.
But now, it's a battlefield where every second counts. Eubank Jr.'s size, reach, and sheer durability could turn this into a nightmare for Benn. The moment Eubank Jr. starts walking him down, cutting off the ring, and using that physicality, Benn could find himself drowning in deep waters. One misstep, one slip-up, and it could be lights out. The power dynamics are terrifying, and both fighters are coming in with something to prove. The real question, will Benn's hunger and aggression be enough to overcome this mountain? Or will the weight difference shatter his dreams before he even gets started? But here's the twist. Carl Frampton isn't buying into the hype. He's raising serious doubts about Chris Eubank Jr.'s ability to make weight. And he isn't just throwing out baseless claims. He believes Eubank...
Turkey wants that fight. So, the fight's going to happen.
That's him just selling it to the media that I pulled up on him while he's wagering. And most people will fall for it.
Conor Benn said to us that will be his next fight. Is that it now? Next fight is going to be Conor Benn for you, Chris?
As long as he gets his license back, the fight's next.
...is in real trouble, especially when he's bone dry and pushing his limits. Frampton sees a scenario where Eubank nods along, accepts the terms, but then shows up way over the limit, possibly even 15 or 16 pounds heavier, taking the fine rather than draining himself. And let's not forget what happened against Liam Smith. Eubank looked completely drained, and that's no coincidence. The rehydration clause is where things get really messy, and Frampton sees it as a huge advantage for Conor Benn. Eubank is walking a tightrope, and if the weight cut doesn't go as planned, he could be walking into the fight compromised. So the stage is set. The stakes are sky high. But the question remains, who will come out on top, and who will crumble under the pressure?
Chris Eubank Sr. was pushing very hard for that should be the fight with the Benn family, not his son,
Harlem.
Chris Eubank.
Listen, if go on, sorry.
Well, I was going to say that we could well see a Benn Eubank 4 if Benn succeeds in a way against Chris Eubank, or...
The brutal weight cut could zap Eubank Jr.'s strength, turning this fight into a disaster. The real question, will his body hold up, or will the cut leave him a shadow of himself before the first bell even rings? Mark your calendars, April 26th. The long-awaited showdown between Chris Eubank Jr. and Conor Benn is officially happening. After all the drama, mind games, and build-up, fans are buzzing with anticipation. The personal beef between these two only makes this clash even more explosive. Benn is coming for redemption, while Eubank Jr. is riding high on confidence, knowing a victory could elevate his career to new heights. The stakes? Higher than ever. Expect fireworks in the ring. Will Eubank Jr. silence the critics and prove he's the better man?
Maybe a very disappointing fight if we find out when Chris steps in there against Conor that he is much, much too big for him. But I think they'll play 12 rounds and I think we'll get 2 fights. I just have this weird feeling about it.
Or will Ben make a statement and shake up the boxing world once again? This isn't just a fight. It's a grudge match that promises to leave everyone talking. Are you ready for the ultimate showdown? Who do you think takes this heated rivalry? On the flip side, Adam Catterall isn't holding back. He's diving straight into the drama surrounding the Eubank and Benn families. He doesn't mince words, calling out Chris Eubank Jr. for relentlessly pushing for a showdown with the Benn family, but not with his own son. It's a move that's hard to ignore, and Catterall is quick to highlight the hypocrisy. It raises serious questions and has the boxing world buzzing. But here's where things get even bigger. Catterall is amping up the hype, suggesting we could be heading for Benn versus Eubank IV. If Conor Benn pulls off a shock victory or even puts up a strong showing.
But Eubank Jr. is his own man, and that's what he's always tried to make out. This is me, this is my career, and this is how I do things. Dad, that was your era, that was your time, blah, 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 let me do this. But I'm sure he'd love to have him sat ringside watching him.
This rivalry isn't ending anytime soon. This isn't just about one fight. It's the continuation of a saga that could become legendary. The stakes have never been higher. Will this fight be the beginning of a new chapter, or the final word in a historic grudge match? The stakes have never been higher. This could be the fight that defines the future of boxing. The countdown to April 26th just got even more intense. Meanwhile, Adam Catterall isn't holding back. He's sounding the alarm on a potential disaster. What if Chris Eubank Jr. is simply too big for Conor Benn? The weight difference could overshadow the hype, turning what should be a thrilling showdown into a one-sided beating. But Catterall isn't done yet. He fuels the fire with a bold prediction. Despite the size disparity, this fight could go the full 12 rounds. Fans are biting their nails at the thought of a long, drawn-out affair rather than the...
I think it'll be a mismatch, just as much a mismatch as the presses have been. It will be a similar format, playing out in the physical. Chris is way too much, and that will become evident as the rounds go on in the fight.
A brutal knockout they crave. His gut feeling casts a shadow of doubt over the whole event, leaving the future of this matchup hanging by a thread. Will Benn's skill and heart be enough to counter Eubank Jr.'s overwhelming size and power, or is this rivalry doomed to fall flat? The real question, will the hype be justified, or will this fight fail to deliver? Meanwhile, Joe Gallagher is breaking down Chris Eubank Jr.'s obsession with carving out his own path. He's fiercely determined to step out of his father's shadow and build his own legacy. But here's the brutal truth. No matter how much he tries to distance himself, there's an undeniable craving for validation he refuses to admit. Deep down, having his father in his corner, witnessing his dominance firsthand, would mean everything to him. Whether he acknowledges it or not, that desire for approval lingers, and this fight could be his defining moment. It's the uncomfortable truth no one dares to say out loud. Can Chris Eubank Jr. reach the pinnacle of success without his father's guidance, or is he forever doomed to fight against his own past, struggling for self-worth? The pressure is mounting. The stakes have never been higher, and Eubank Jr. is running out of time to prove he can rise above his legacy. This isn't just about boxing. It's a battle for identity, redemption, and the chance to rewrite history. On the other hand, Harlem Eubank isn't just making predictions. He's dropping bold statements. According to him, this potential showdown is nothing short of a mismatch, a fight where one man is simply outclassed. The press conferences have already shown a clear divide between the two fighters, and Harlem is convinced that once the bell rings, that gap will only widen. Chris Eubank Jr.'s physicality, power, and sheer presence in the ring will take over from the very first round. Harlem firmly believes that as the rounds tick by, Chris will impose his dominance so forcefully that his opponent won't be able to handle it. In his eyes, this fight will be a one-sided beating, with Chris proving to be far too much for his rival. But then again, boxing is a sport of surprises. Will the fight unfold exactly as Harlem envisions, or will a shocking upset throw everything into chaos? Time will tell, but one thing is certain, this is a fight you don't want to miss. Like, comment, and subscribe to stay updated on all the latest boxing news and analysis.